This is an overview of Excel Project 4. First thing I want to mention is this does not use data files, so everything you will do in this project is constructed from scratch through to the end. So I'm going to start with a blank workbook in Excel. And something I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just because it's easier to see what's going on. I may zoom out later on when we need to. But the first thing I'm going to do, as the book mentions, is I'm going to save this. So I'm going to save this so I have it. They give you a name to call it. It's I don't even know what they do have you call it. I think FC. I'm just going to call it FCU. It's a calculation mortgage amortization table type of project. Actually, it's a very handy project to have if you're thinking about buying a home or a car. So the first thing I'm going to do with the manipulation is highlight everything, and I did that by clicking in this upper left hand corner, and they want everything to be bold. Alright, so what we're going to do is start putting this together, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, I don't question it, but they have column A and B. They're going to have those narrow, so I'm going to highlight columns A and B. I'm going to right click and set the column width. I think they have those set to be 0.92, and I'm just following that in the book. Some of the columns, they tell you specifically what to do. Sometimes I obey that, sometimes I kind of eyeball it, so I'm not ultra concerned if you don't have yours exactly to the specified pixel that the book gives you. So I'm going to start here in cell C4. Sorry, C3, and we're going to put mortgage payment calculator. Trouble spelling today. Okay, and what we're actually going to do with this is we're going to highlight C3 over to and including F3, and we're going to merge and center, so that makes that one cell and whatever's in it is centered. And I'm also going to come up here, and I'm still under the Home tab. I'm going to click in this bottom corner under Styles, and I'm going to make that a title. Okay, so why did it not do that? Let's see. We need to widen these columns. We'll come back and clean these column widths up here in a minute. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and put in labels, and these are similar to figure 4-4. These will be labels that we will use when we put our item in we're going to calculate a loan for. Yeah, I'm gonna widen that column here in just a second. Because this overlaps a little bit, if you double click between C and D, it makes it the perfect width, which is nice. I'm going to leave this blank for a second, and I'm going to go into E. And these, by the way, are in figure 4-4. And same idea, I'm going to double click between E and F to make that the perfect width. And I may need to come in here and adjust D and F. I'll do that accordingly as we get into doing those types of ideas. So I want to set that up as it looks right there. And they actually tell us to put in some values to kind of start this off. The first is, let's do the date. The date, a function that will tell you what today's date is according to your computer's calendar, is put equal now, open and close parenthesis. Now it's going to give, well, actually it's going to give a very bizarre number. If you ever see that in Excel, it means the column is not wide enough. So I'm going to double click that. This is the format that it gives us for date. I'm going to show you how to change that. If you come up here, so under the Home tab, and go under Number, it'll bring up this window where you can go to Date and pick the structure, the date you want. I'm going to kind of use what they have. I think they use this date here, which is fine. As long as you have one of the date selections, that's fine. Next thing under item, we're going to first use our example of doing, we're going to do a house, which by the way, I'm going to make all of these right aligned just because it looks better. And the price for that is $369. That right this time, $369. And we'll format that in just a second. And we're going to have a down payment of $75,000. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these, and like I did with the date, I'm going to change this to currency. Currency will put a dollar sign, and I'm going to often use the second one down here. We'll see why in a moment. I'm going to do the same idea over here. I'm going to highlight the monthly payment, total interest and cost, and I'm going to make that currency, and the second one down. The rate and the term will not be currency because those will be percentages in numbers. So let's see, I want to make sure I follow the guide of the book. Okay, something else of interest that they have us do in the book. Let me go ahead and put the sample numbers in here, and how this is figured out. Rate is going to be 3.375, and this is percent, and this is something you can just type in. Now notice I put 3.375. It does the decimal, it shortens it, so you can actually use this button here to increase or decrease the decimal. So I'm going to use that to have the decimal set to what I want. The term will be 15. That'll be in years. Okay, and then we're going to do some calculations here in just a moment. But what they want us to do, and this is actually a handy way to do this, is they want to set this up so that we're going to use these labels over here as part of our calculations, because it can make it actually a little bit easier. And to do this, I'm going to highlight these cells, price down through loan amount, and the respective cells beside that. I'm going to go under formula, and I'm going to select create from selection, which is right here, and make sure the left column is checked. That means that it's going to use these labels from the left column. And what that does is, you may not recognize it, but if I click right here now, I have down payment, loan, and price as variables in place of C6, C7, and C8. It's just easier to use those. Do the same idea here. I'm going to highlight those, go create from selection, and keep left column. And now we can look, and we have a long list of items up here at our disposal, which is quite nice. Okay, actually, what I probably should have done all of these, and I can go ahead and add those now if I want. Add rate and term. Okay, yeah, they do. They use those also. So that gets that set up. And why is that handy? Well, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate our loan amount. And this is actually a pretty easy calculation, but we're going to use that idea we just set up. And so in loan amount, we're going to start with an equal sign, and we're going to put P, and it's going to list all of the P items, functions. Now there's one called price, and that is because we just named that. So we're going to equal price, double click on that, and notice it highlights the cell for price. And I'm going to subtract from that down payment. But put in the letter D, scroll down, there's down payment, hit enter, and that gives us our loan amount. And basically that is, sure what my currency went away. There we go. Basically the loan amount is the price minus the down payment. They just have you do it that way to use these labels. And up here in the formula bar you can see that. One thing I want to mention before we finish out this part is if you ever make a mistake, and I'll purposely make a mistake, so if I go in here and start doing something with my formula and click and get going wrong and everything's crazy, these buttons up here are pretty handy. The red X will kind of stop the formula, and you can kind of go back to where you were. So the red X up here is a handy tool in that regard. The check mark is once you get a formula in, sometimes you check that and it will run the function, or it's in essence the same thing as hitting enter. So we're going to stop at this point, save it, and move on in the next part.